What's good? What's up, guys? But my grades close. Next, great sword. Requirements. There and goes twin blade. Stormhawk. Isn't pretty. Looking for out of the talisman. Set up a joint. Jump. I'll just show off something stupid. Huh. I'll just
Like if Andrew Tate gets convicted, it's because of the Matrix. And
Oh yeah,
if he
what's
doesn't
it
get
called?
convicted, it's
Where
because the Matrix failed.
literally
right?
no matter what happens,
said it's totally cool.
you can find a way to make it fit. There's got to be like a fallacy there, yeah.
So I was talking to an old friend about this, and she actually suggested calling it an all roads lead to Rome fallacy.
Oh, I would fight against that. There was another really good one brought up by a Christian apologist whose paper I read. I should have saved these papers. And it pointed out an unbelievably glaring flaw in the violinist argument that I'd never thought of before. And it actually 180'd my whole opinion. I already thought it was kind of better, but completely 180'd. So yeah, I don't have any good answers because people sometimes come on and try to ask questions about this. I don't have any good answers when it comes to resolving disputes between two entirely different systems. Happy birthday, Letterbox. Happy birthday. What are you, like 22 today?
Happy birthday.
I'm 32.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Just my good looks, I know. Thanks.
Yeah, what's up? How's it going?
Oh, I've taken a bit of a step back from streaming, which is good. Like, it's very mental health positive and shit. But now that every time I've got like streamer thoughts, I just can't say them to anyone, or I have to like call friends who don't care and shit.
Oh, yeah.
So I just thought I'd come here and drop them instead.
Oh, sounds nice. Wait, before you do that, can I grab a river real quick?
Yeah.
I mean, hold on one second.
We're cool in it.
Hey, Destiny fans. Shit. Someone say something stupid so I can have something to say in response. Otherwise, I'm gonna get a bit awkward, you know?
Okay.
Hey.
This is a song clip I watched. It's just so funny. Sorry, okay. Go
What,
ahead.
the one about raping billionaires and shit?
As long as it's other billionaires are going to be doing the raping, might as well rape.
The thing that really, I don't know how to get around this because it just seems like there's such a huge contingent of like online like revolutionary leftists who just like, there's this really gross stereotype that sometimes like Israelis will say about Palestinians, where they'll say like, oh, they care more about killing our kids than they care about defending their own, right? It's like a really, like a pretty like just nasty racist stereotype. But I feel like a lot of Western leftists just kind of embrace that. Like they do seem to just care more about hurting people they don't like than helping people they do supposedly advocate for.
Yeah, that's what I feel that way whenever somebody asks me about taxes. I always say, like, I hate taxes and taxes suck. Taxes are a necessary evil to fund what is good, which is our social programs. And that should be like the start and stop when we talk about taxation. We need to tax people so that we can fund the social programs we need to run an ethical society. But so many people on the left view taxes as like a fucking moral imperative, or at worst, like a punishment. You guys are paying up, we need to pull taxes, fuck more, 91% marginal taxes. It's like the way, and I know they'll refute. They'll say, well, no, I don't mean that, but they do. They really, like, there should be no billionaires. It's evil, blah, blah, blah. It's like, listen, if we have the social programs we need and somebody kicks in enough and they help, society and shit, if they're a billionaire, fuck it, who cares? But like, yeah, people view so much of it as like they're more concerned with hating and shitting on some people than actually helping others. It's very, very, very fucking annoying.
True.
Yeah, that Titanic thing was very. I'm really happy I wasn't streaming during that.
That's actually wild, and it's like it's human psychology like laid most bare. When a black guy gets killed and people are like, well, he shouldn't have been in the first place. Well, he had a prior conviction 10 years ago for violence, blah, 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 and it's like, okay, that's obviously kind of demented to think. But then it's like, well, they're billionaires, okay? They paid $300,000 to go on the sub. Like, are these guys even worth it? It's like, damn, bro, like, really?
Oh, bro, that's not.
It wasn't even that. It was like, because one of the guys was like the son of a billionaire who didn't even want to go, right? Like,
yeah, I know. And then like, it's just wild. It's not that wild. It's basic human psychology. It is.
What do you think should be? Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna ask what you were streaming. Yeah, go for it. What were you saying?
I was gonna say, you were spending a little while thinking about there was like a fallacy that people do that you couldn't find a word for. It's when people have a worldview that like every bit of empirical data supports it. So what's a fucking example? Like if like if Andrew Tate gets convicted, it's because of the Matrix. And if he doesn't get convicted, it's because the Matrix failed.
Literally, right? No matter what happens, you can find a way to make it fit. There's got to be like a fallacy there, yeah.
So I was talking to an old friend about this, and she actually suggested calling it an all roads lead to Rome fallacy.
Cute. I feel like there's got to be like a formal name for this, though. There's got to be. Because it's such an incredibly common.
Someone tried to tell me it's like a bit similar to circular logic, but I couldn't figure out how that works. But
no, it's not circular.
No.
What an idiot! Who said that?
The same person who came up with all roads. Okay, they're a mixed bag.
Jesus. Well, now she gets dinged down for that.
That's the spitballing. That's what you have to do. The fuck else? Oh yeah, I heard you were making a self-defense research document a while ago.
No, I wanted to like, usually when I'm trying to think moral philosophy, usually what I'll do is I'll open a notepad and I just start writing a ton of things. I don't know if I have the mental fortitude to do this on stream though, because like even just like reading, I read a paper by, I think it was another Judith Thompson paper on self-defense, whatever. Just even doing that little bit on stream is very, very, very hard because half the chat's not engaged because they don't give a fuck because it's boring material. And then a lot of people are asking retarded questions, making retarded objections when we haven't even like finished our point. It's just very, very, very frustrating. So I don't know if I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I'll probably do it. It'll be usually when I do things like that, I just usually write it up in a notepad on my own time. I'll grab a laptop, go to balcony, and just start like writing shit.
Yeah, I think you were reading something at one point when I tuned in, but then I dipped out because it looked boring. Fuck. I was gonna ask because I think you're like pretty hardline on self-defense, right? Like if someone's stealing from you and you hold a gun to them and you say stop stealing, and if they carry on, you can just kill them, right? Because it's like they made the first move and they're making the choice to, like that kind of thing. Like it's okay to defend yourself with disproportionate force because they're the ones aggressing, right? The gist.
Yeah, but it seems as though. It seems as though intuitively there are some modifications that we want to make to that it can't just be a blanket kill somebody for trying to steal from, right? So like it seems to be the case that there probably needs to be some prior notice.
Reasonable.
Right? Like for instance, if somebody wants to cross, like we used to cut through yards all the time as a kid, right? Like would it really be fair to murder a child crossing a yard even though it's private property? Well, if the kid really knew he was going to get killed, maybe there's an argument to be made there, but if you don't know, I mean, is it? So some prior notice seems to be the case. It seems like there might need to be a limit. I'm uncomfortable with this, but there might need to be a limit on the type of property stolen. Like if somebody truly was going to run up to you and steal $1, like, and you say, you put them on notice, you both have full wherewithal, full agency, whatever. Like, do you really get to kill them for the $1? Even on that, I actually lean towards yes, because it's like, it's their choice. They're choosing to do it. They've got the agency. But yeah, I don't know. That's why I kind of want to write it down and formalize like where are the limits to this and whatnot. Yeah, and then when you go to the extremes on both sides, like what looks worse essentially. But yeah.
So you don't think like the dollar thing would just be an edge case? Like it would have to be consistent with the rest of it.
Well, everything
has to be with like defending. Yeah.
Consistent, right?
Yeah, but I wonder if there might be some kind of like threshold somewhere where it is just worth letting something go in exchange for someone's life, right?
I get the problem that I have with that is I love murder. The problem that I have with this is that I'm very uncomfortable compelling somebody to suffer at the hands of an aggressor ever in like any way, unless there's some like greater moral good or some greater agreement that's been made, like either explicitly or implicitly. So for instance, if you go to fight somebody in a boxing ring, explicitly you've agreed to some level of harm. If you play a sport with somebody, implicitly you've agreed that you could get harmed, you know, even if it's an accident.
Oh, I did.
But like on a normal day-to-day basis, like the right to your body, the right to not have other people steal things from you, attack you, whatever, that's a very, very, very strong right to me. And I have a really hard time compelling people that could stop something, maybe only with lethal force, compelling them to suffer that injury by another person. That's really hard for me, yeah.
Okay, this is going to go on a tangent because you mentioned the right to your body. Why? I know why I don't like the my body, my choice argument for abortion, but I think it might be different from yours. Why do you not like it?
So something that I thought was really interesting, I read 4 or 5 papers on, because I was going to debate Matt Dillahunty, who's actually a real human being and can actually argue and isn't some fucking weird demagogue piece of shit.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. So I actually took some days and actually read Judith Thompson's full paper. I read a couple by a couple Christian apologists, I think, and then there was one I read by, I think it was a psych student. I don't know if I'll be able to find this guy's paper, but he made a really interesting argument. I think he called it in his paper. He called it
one too many things.
De facto guardianship, and he made a de facto guardianship argument for abortion. And I stole a lot of the examples he used in that paper for why bodily autonomy is not enough. So here's an example that he gave. I believe this is one of the examples he gave. Let's say that a woman wakes up and she's locked in a cabin. Woman wakes up, she's locked in a cabin, it's completely snowed in, and there's a note that's left for her, and it says, hello, you and a 1-year-old baby, or you and a 1-month-old baby are going to be locked in this cabin for 3 weeks. I'll say 3 weeks. At the end of this 3 weeks, police are going to come, get you out, everything's going to be okay. You've got enough food here, you've got water here, you've got a TV to watch, your pay is being compensated, no external negative effects are going to befall you. And she's like, okay, sure. So she waits here for 3 weeks. The police come down, accompanied with the psychologists from the or philosophers from the local university to monitor their experiment. They open the door, and the lady comes out unharmed. And everybody sees her, they're happy, and they ask her, they say, hey, where's the baby? Is the baby in bed, or what's going on? And she's like, oh, I left the baby to starve to death. In that sense, it feels like something has happened where the woman has become like a de facto guardian of the child. She's the only person there that can provide care for the child. She has the means and capability to do it, and doing so won't significantly harm or disadvantage her. So it feels like intuitively there's a moral obligation placed on that person to take care of that baby. I think if she came out of that room, if she came out of that house, and she had left the 3-week-old to die just because she was unwilling to feed it, I think most people would view that as a morally contemptuous behavior. And that kind of line of thinking of de facto guardianship, that if we were to concede that a fetus at conception is a baby, you've essentially been entrusted with the health and care of a baby, and through the course of ordinary development, you would give birth to that baby. You're the only one that can keep it alive. You're the only one that has the ability to do it, so you ought to maintain that, assuming that you're not going to be killed or anything in the birthing process, essentially, yeah. Sorry, whew. Okay.
So it's not really, because usually when I hear bodily autonomy, it's more like, yeah, I guess I was never able to distinguish between the idea that no one, because the idea is no one has a right to use your body.
Bodily, stupid. A whole bunch of people have the right. The government over there. Ever been to jail? 100%. They can corral you into a cage whenever they really want to. Threat of like violence. So yeah, 100% don't have bodily. You just abortion. That's a tough one. Go off of a goal. Probably. But if you're just like a sociopath about it, like probably meet somewhere in the best way to 15, so you're not pushing it. For me. Never quite as simple.
Body, right?
Correct.
But it's always to do with like some kind of like physical attachment, right? Because obviously when a baby's born, they do kind of have a right to use your body in the sense that you have to do the things to keep it alive.
So I would fight against that. There was another really good one brought up by a Christian apologist whose paper I read. I should have saved these papers. And it pointed out an unbelievably glaring flaw in the violinist argument that I'd never thought of before. And it actually 180'd my whole opinion. I already thought it was kind of better, but it completely 180'd. So the problem, and God, it was such a simple thing. I can't believe it. I should have thought it was my own. For the violinist argument, imagine if instead of being hooked up to a violinist, and you've got to give them your blood and your kidneys and all that shit, right? Imagine if instead you were hooked up to the violinist for some number of weeks or months to keep them alive. Imagine if that was your child. Would you still have the right to disconnect? And in that sense, I actually feel like I had a way different intuition. Because if for whatever reason I woke up and my blood was being filtered through, or I was filtering my kid's blood through my body, and it's my son or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, you know, nobody has a right to your body. If you want to disconnect, you can. I don't know. That's your child. Like, if you have any purpose in this world, is it not to provide for your children? And the violinist argument, if you swap the violinist out with a child, I think you can actually.
Bro, personally, you're hooked up to. You just wake up and you're hooked up to another human being, right? Like, got it. It doesn't. Does it really cost you? Pleasure.
Actually make a way more powerful compulsion for a person to, you kind of, if anybody has a right to anything, it would probably be a child too. So Yeah, so yeah, that's
So,
kind of where I'm at on those two things. Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny because I think that example you just mentioned was like I used it because I did a video on abortion like last year. Not that many people watched it, but yeah, I was like it was kind of doing like a fake debate between like a liberal and a conservative on abortion, and that was the thing is like swap the violinist out for like instead of the violinist say that well first of all you have to have some responsibility, right? So let's say you're driving badly in a car and you smash into a child, and then they say you have to hook up like the violinist to them. Do you just like let them die, or do you have to go through like the 9 months of like inconvenience to save them?
Well, I think
But it's,
most
like,
people would
the problem
say. Yeah, go ahead.
the problem I ran into with that was like, yeah, it is like a probably some kind of like obligate, like maybe some moral imperative, but it's whether or not the state should be allowed to force you to make that decision.
Yeah, I think most people probably, even if it was through your own fault, for like a stranger, I don't think most people would say like you got in a car accident, now you have to like donate blood to them or something.
It didn't pop.
And that's the problem, I think. So I don't think that the bodily autonomy argument, like, I think it still gets you to a place where abortion up to viability is legal. But the thing I didn't like about it is that like, if you don't get rid of the whole person that begins at conception thing, you're basically saying that like the state has to allow abortion, but it's like morally repugnant, right? Because you made the choice to have sex and have a baby and then just kill it afterwards.
Sure.
But are you in the same? Because I don't know where you are. Like if it was just like bodily autonomy and it's a person at conception, do you think that abortion should still be illegal, or would it just be like legal but morally shit thing to do?
No, it should be 100% illegal, of course, punishable by like homicide or whatever. Yeah.
Oh.
Because if we're saying that a fetus is a baby, the same as a baby, then it gets all the same rights or whatever. And if it dies, and because you've had a fucking abortion, it's just like killing a baby, right?
And yeah, so not the idea that it's like. And it doesn't take away the fact that it's like basically like a parasite, like aggressing on your body, right? Because it's because of the choice that you made to put it there, or
I mean, even if you didn't make the choice, even in terms of rape, the thing, like here's the thing: if you want to kill somebody, that's a very, very, very high threshold for when we're saying you can kill people. Like we're allowed to murder people. Like even for death row inmates, they get like fucking 20 years of appeals and shit. You know, so if we say that the baby is like a human endowed with all the same rights and everything, it has to be protected in the same way, I would say.
Okay, so I think I know what you're going to say to this, but just for the sake of bad faith debate, bro. So it's okay to kill someone over $1 if they're trying to rob you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay to kill someone for sapping your nutrients for 9 months and like all the other things that go with pregnancy.
Yeah, I think there's a huge difference between these two subjects because one has agency and one doesn't. So, for instance, this is why I was saying that there needs to probably be, in certain cases, some understanding for enacting violent self-defense of property. Now, for persons, it might be a little bit different. For property, it might change. This gets a little complicated. If a child wandered into my backyard, I'm probably not going to execute that child in the same way that I might execute somebody who sees a sign, goes into the backyard, knows they're not supposed to be there, right? Because a child might not have the understanding to do it. I think in the case of a fetus, I think it's harder to compare them to another agent because the agent could choose otherwise. The fetus literally has no choice. They're looking at you as like the sole provider of nourishment. So it feels a lot more morally different, right? Like if a kid wanders into my backyard, or if a kid like wanders into my house and it's like the kid is like, I need to fucking feed, give me your breast. And as a woman, it's like, that feels pretty weird. But like, if it's literally like you're in a forest and the kid is like, I'm sorry, but like I have to drink your breast milk or else I'm gonna fucking die. Like, I think it becomes, it's a lot different because it's not like the fetus has no other choice, right? It can only feed. It can only use you as nourishment.
Yeah. So would you say that the even if it's like the kid in the woods, so I think the difference there is like in abortion you're actually killing the thing, whereas in the woods you're kind of like saying no to someone that would depend on you for survival. So do you think the woods example would still be illegal then? Like it's illegal for the mother to just refuse breast milk to a kid that would die otherwise?
I'm not sure. I'd have to think about it a lot. I think that it's in certain cases. I mean, well, like child neglect. I think people have been prosecuted for murder, right? Second-degree murder. I think for child neglect, for letting a child die.
For kids that they chose to have, or does that matter?
I know for sure it would be unethical to let a kid die. Would it be illegal? I don't know if you could like legally compel somebody to take care of a child. I don't know if you could ever legally compel them. I say probably not.
So for you, it's like the reason abortion is like the problem with just if it's a person at conception, is because it's actually the act of killing it rather than just leaving it to die. Is that what makes it different, or?
No, because in that case, it's not, because like, let's say you could perfectly remove a fetus and it's still guaranteed to die. I think at that, like, the doing versus allowing harm distinction there isn't that important to me. Like, they're still essentially killing it, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's no way to just leave it to die. Like, you have to do something to leave it to die. Whereas if you're in the woods and a 2-year-old comes out to you, you can just leave it to die. Like,
Yeah. That's why I always point out in that Judith Thompson paper, she makes the same argument that when she argues in favor of abortion. She never makes the argument in favor of killing the fetus. And I think she even makes a distinction a couple times in the paper, where she's like, just because you have the right to abort doesn't mean you have the right to kill a fetus. You just have the right to remove it from you. But that is a little bit different, yeah.
Well, that's why I think when I saw that abortion debate with fucking Lance and Tim Pool and shit, like I noticed that after reading a bit about it, was like a lot of countries don't even call it abortion after viability. Like, I can't remember where it was, but I think it might have been the UK, where after 24 weeks there is no such thing as abortion. It's just termination for a fetal anomaly, because you would never have to quote unquote abort like in the same way beforehand. But yeah. I don't. Is that the same in the United States as well? Because I feel like the United States seems to have like higher. They seem to go later when it comes to abortion. Because
in the U.S.
Yeah, that's where. Because I always hear about like edge cases from the U.S. where someone went past viability but still aborted, like not evict, just like killed.
Well, in the U.S., I'm pretty sure in states we have abortion all the way up to. In some places, all the way up to birth, don't we? Basically, isn't there third trimester abortion available in states in the U.S.? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's if I. Going from memory, but I think there were 4 places in the country that do it. And I think I almost asked you this last time, but my fucking internet died. But I was going to ask you about, like, when you look at some of those edge cases, some of them are like, some women had like a chronic condition where the treatment basically simulated a lot of the effects of pregnancy. So she didn't actually know she was pregnant until like 20 odd weeks, and then couldn't get the abortion until like 30 or something. But I think in Europe, I don't even know if that's allowed, because in Europe that would just be because our limits are only like 12 or 14, 16, 20 weeks. But what do you have thoughts on cases like that? Like if she doesn't know she's pregnant until viability, but then
it's none of that should matter. This is why, like, if you're gonna say the fetus is a living person, then there's almost no exception you can make to kill. That's why people are like, oh, what about in case of rape? Okay, and like,
well, this is assuming that they're like that we're going by consciousness, right? So like it could have been aborted before 24.
Yeah, I mean, if you're using other standards of abortion, that's fine. I think viability is a dog shit argument for abortion too. Like whether or not I get a right to life just basically depends on if there's like stuff to keep me alive at a particular point. I think that's dumb, but.
Yeah, I think the thing with consciousness, it just seems like it's definitely like a lot more saleable as well. Like it just seems easier. There was that debate you had with the 2 fucking ladies. There's the rhetorical thing that one of them kept doing was the whole thing about like it's science that your life begins at conception with the unique genetic code, right? I don't think you brought it up to them, but. Like, I feel like a really good response to that is just that, like, would just be to ask, like, if that's the case, like, why does life end before your genetic code does? Because, like, we have genes that actually come to life after you die, right? Like, for at least a couple of days. There are genes that become more active after you die. I think it's, like, some that are to do with repairing brain tissue and other, like, cell activity and whatever.
I didn't know that.
Have you ever?
But that's just frustrating because like it's such a stupid topic at that point. Like science can like help you, like can inform like decision making, but it can't ever tell you what's like right or wrong. It's not the goal of science ever. It's not even capable of doing that. So it's really frustrating. So I was like, oh, my answer is science based. Like when somebody says that, they're like so far behind on the philosophical conversation that you're right. I need to think of like better. I need to think of better, quick, snappy analogies to illustrate why that's like such a fundamentally flawed way of thinking. It's just very frustrating when somebody says that. I already know that the conversation is going to be real dumb.
Yeah, I mean that because like at least from experience, like that's one that I always feel like I don't think I've ever heard anyone get around. Is if you're saying life begins with the genetic code, it's like, well, why do we pronounce people dead when those genes are still going?
Yeah, and the answer is
obviously they go for quite a while. Yeah,
and then they start adding other things. They'll say genetic code plus still developing or.
I think the other thing I was going to ask you about self-defense. Have you ever had like Have you ever spoken about self-defense when it comes to like land or like sovereignty and shit?
Like country versus country, or no? What do you mean?
Kind of like, okay, so I feel like there's like a really left-wing hypothetical go with, or a right-wing. I think we'll go with the right-wing one. Say like all the right-wingers about immigration are actually like correct. Just like say that there is like a there's like a huge influx of people coming across the border, and the state that you're a part of is not enforcing it in any way.
Okay.
Would it be okay for you to just stand at the border with a gun and be like, here, buddy, turn around, or bang bang?
I don't know. That's a really hard one. Anytime, I think the most difficult moral questions are when you're starting to get conflicting systems. So like different governments fighting against each other, different states. Like I actually thought about this a lot. The more I think about it, like,
I don't really. I think if you put up signage, you say, "Hey, property, there, police, property." Damage. Literally got the same. It's got the good R2. A big. And chase him. There's y'all should be wary of me. Spot. This is like taking that guy out. Cool. This is fun. Oh yeah. Where's my hyper armor? Bitch. Spam it. It's actually what a weird mix of damn. Did it. Hold it. Really? Oh. Oh. Oh, poor bud. Oh, poor body. Gravelstone seal. Oh, poor man. Oh, dude, that totally sucks. Oh my god. Oh man. Oh. Too bad. Oh my god. I like this weapon. Good theoretically. Theoretically. Yeah, you can pop the button. I mean, slow. Kind of scary. We can do that. Literally all we'd have to do is put on slightly not goat set. Yeah. Amen. Full goat set actually just has the highest poise, not the highest. What the fuck? My like 7th Stormhawk axe. Fuck yeah. Are we actually about to get the regen? Big thing. For this one has just in time. Boy. He just got trounced on. Listen, do probably actually. Oh snap! Tower is this? Oh, this is probably for God. Back. After all these. Alright. Could get the that. A lot of cheese like that. Pussy. Crash or that. Oh, I really thought. That roll. Job. Fight. Weapon swaps. Speaking of winning, I need a coffee. So. Good. Quick step. pussy. Starts throwing spells. Fight like. Pretty good. No, it was a stream. Yeah. Go off on a win. Back up.